I'm Stan Copeland, and some people call me the Picklin Parson. But the people who are on the cast today who will be a part of this cooking show call me Pastor. We're going to be in the Hollybeck home where Mark and Ann and Mark's mother, Nancy, all live. And this is where the Picklin Parson stuff all began. I wanted to give Ann and Nancy this bouquet of yellow roses today, thanking them for letting us have this cooking show in their home. And I'm going to give these to Mark. These are my great-great-grandmother's Virginia Chunk Sweet Pickles, and this label was designed by Mark Hollybeck. So everything you see with Picklin Parson brand on it, Hollybeck, he's to blame. We're ready to get started. Hello, how are y'all doing? Great. I want to introduce you today to these, our cast, all a part of Lovers Lane United Methodist Church and also a part of our food ministry. We have Gail Berry Turner. Gail has been a member of our church for several years, and she's a teacher. She is a spiritual growth person, and we really love Gail and all that she does, but she's been a part of our food ministry for the whole 2 years that we've been doing food ministry, and we really appreciate her. She's especially good at packing okra. You'll see that in a moment. And this is Tendris Soul. Tendris has been on our staff for 8 years. She's from the Democratic Republic of Congo, the southern part of the DRC, and her father's a pastor, and she's been invaluable to our church staff. She especially works with our special needs children, our youth, and our children's ministry as well. She's the head of what we call Austin's Army at Lovers Lane. And Pat Hale, Pat is a member of our church who is very involved in our food ministry, but he's also our head usher. And Pat is every Sunday morning is at the church about 7:45 to pray with all of the staff. We really appreciate that, and he's really Mr. Hospitality around our church. Now we're going to talk today, of course, about pickling and canning okra, but we're also going to share with you about our food ministry. And Gail, I'd like to ask you to tell us a little something about food ministry, and Pat, you can jump in anytime you'd like.
I love to. The food ministry started in 2020 with the onset of the pandemic. Schools were beginning to close, and the children that were on free lunches were no longer able to get that food source. So we heard that many churches and groups were actually providing sack lunches for the kids. Right. And they were delivered to the schools and then were picked up by the parents for their children. Mm-hmm. At that point, Lovers Lane got the idea of actually providing some fresh produce, rice, beans, and that whole thing. So, you know, at that point, we really didn't have money for funding. And so our church wasn't meeting in person. We decided to put a call out on social media, and it was amazing. The funds just started pouring in. Yeah, it just makes me almost emotional to think about how much people really cared about the food insecurity of our community. What started out as really 125 bags per week ended up to this day being over 700 bags per week. Wow. And so in this past couple of weeks ago, I guess it was, we actually served our 1 millionth pound of food.
Amen. Pat, what about you? What are some of the stories you remember?
Well, Stan, I learned about this through our Sunday school classes. That I think a word went to all of them that what we were doing with the food ministry. And so as soon as they got started, I went down the first time we were to unpack food and to help get it ready to set up for packing in the bags. And I was just totally impressed by all the number of people that were down there. It was incredible. A great fellowship, really, for all of us to spend the time together doing all this. And as Gail said, I think that the most rewarding thing is for us, and would invite anybody to join us in this ministry. It's a terrific experience, and I'm very impressed by the number of people that we have show up each and every week to do this, and I would encourage everybody to join us.
Gail and volunteers from food ministry helped me pack a few dozen jars last year of this okra, and so I like to call Gail a pro okra packer. Judy and Pam were doing the trimming and the washing of the okra, and we've already done that today, but that's an important part of it, and they look like they're having fun. David was doing the blanching of the okra, which is part of the process too. And before the okra goes in the jar, we blanch it for about 90 seconds. Allison was getting the okra and the lemon slices ready for the packing. This makes it kind of pretty and also gives it some nice flavor. Oh, we had fun. We made sweet onion chutney that day too, and honey apple butter to beat. But our target was garlic pickled okra. All right, so here's the okra. We're ready to go. Now, with okra and other pickled vegetables, you don't really cook it because it will cook, in essence, in the salt water, the brine, and the vinegar. But we do want to blanch it for about 90 seconds in just a moment. We've already nipped to the tops of the okra, and we've already washed it, so it's really ready to go. It's pretty okra, and you see it's all about the same size. Pat, why don't you put that over there closer to the boiling pot of water that we'll use in just a minute. So now here's all of our ingredients. We have the okra, which is about 4 pounds, about a little over a gallon. We have 3 cups of apple cider vinegar, 2 cups of water, a 1/3 cup of kosher salt. Don't ever use iodized salt when you're pickling and canning. And a 1/4 cup of sugar. All right, Tindris, why don't you start adding those ingredients? We'll start with that apple cider vinegar.
Sure.
There we go. I'm going to turn on the heat, so we'll start warming it up.
Okay. There's the water.
There's the water. Very good.
That's good.
That's 2 cups of water, 4 cups of the apple cider vinegar. Here we go. This is the kosher salt. Now, we don't ever want to use iodized salt. Pickling and canning's always got to be kosher or pickling salt. And a little bit of sugar, just a little bit. That's perfect. All right, so we'll turn the heat up just a bit. All right, so we have all the ingredients in the pot warming up, and now we have the garlic and also the lemon, which will serve as the garnish in the jars. So Tindris, let's see what your muscles are like here. We're going to bruise this garlic. Now, we don't want to crush it, but we just want to bruise it. So just bruise it a little bit. Oh, perfect. When you hear it kind of make that crack, that's perfect. That's great, Tindris. You're the best garlic crusher this side of Congo, I'm telling you. So we're going to put these over to the side. Gail, put those over to the side because we're going to use those in a little bit when we start jarring the garlic. So we're through with that. And here are the lemons, and we'll also want those over to the side for when we get ready to jar the garlic. So now we have the ingredients that will all go in this bowl. A 1/4 cup of mustard seeds, 2 tablespoons of coriander seeds, 2 tablespoons of red pepper flakes, 2 tablespoons of fennel seeds, 2 tablespoons of celery seeds, 2 tablespoons of mixed peppercorns, and some pickle crisper. Lemon slices that have been sliced with the mandolin slicer. You got to be real careful with that or you'll cut your finger. And the garlic that I like to slightly bruise with this meat mallet, and don't crush it, but just bruise it a little bit to release some of the flavor. Now we have the ingredients that will all go in this bowl, and so Gail, you can start adding the ingredients. Mix them up real good because we'll add a teaspoon of the mixed ingredients into each jar. So go ahead and you can start putting them in there, Gail. Mixing them up good. There we go. All of the seeds and the flakes and the
It's going to be good.
crisping.
So Stan, why do you use this particular mix for the okra?
Well, like most of my recipes, these were handed down from family members, and the people I need to ask about those mixes are not with us any longer, but I presume that they were just a mix that they got from their family members through the years. Now I like to put the red pepper in there because I like a little spice. You know, we're from Texas and we like a little bit of spice. I'm going to push these a little bit out of the way because it's time for us to get the jars out of the oven. I've had them in the oven all this time from at about 225 because we want warm or hot jars so that when we put the warm liquid in, it'll all work together. So you can do that. And Pat, I'd like for you to go ahead and blanch the okra for about 90 seconds. Tendris, come with me. I want us to talk a little bit about okra. All right, Tendris. This is my very first cookbook. And on page 62, I talk about a story called Limpin' Susan, Hoppin' John, Aunt Eller, and Okry. Now, I want to ask you a few questions. Have you ever picked okra?
Yes, I have. Back in Congo, we had a garden in the backyard.
Yeah.
So my mom will plant okra, and grandma also would come help us plant that. And okra is a big things in our family. My dad eats okra every single day.
Every day?
Yes. So we had to go pick it up, and you have to have long sleeve.
Yep.
Because you get itchy.
Yes, you do.
And you also need to have some gloves. So we'll pick them up and then get them ready and wash and cook them for Dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okra is notorious for causing you to itch. So you
Yes.
have to have those long sleeves.
You
I'm
do.
telling you, it's very important. Well, I wrote about okra in this book. And I wrote about how, just like you've said, how it makes you itch if you don't have on the long sleeves. So I want to read you just a little bit about the history of okra in Africa.
Okay.
Okra is an ancient vegetable that originated in southern Ethiopia thousands of years ago. It provides thickness and savor in the one-pot stews that are the basis of many traditional African diets. Spreading across the continent of Africa, it eventually came to be known by the tribal people of Western Africa and has been a staple in African and African diaspora cuisine for a long time. From the Igbo language of southeastern Nigeria, we get the vegetable's English name as okwara, became okra and okra. And in East Texas, we call it okry. Now, Tendris, I know you are a wonderful cook because the staff loves your salsa especially. I don't know what you do to it, but it's unlike any I've ever tasted before. Let me ask a question about okra. Did y'all ever pickle and can okra in the Congo?
No.
You didn't?
No.
So this is going to be a new experience for you?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good. I get to teach the cook how to cook.
Yes.
All right, let's go, Tendris. It's time to pack these okra pods into the jars. Everybody, Gail's already got her gloves. Here's some gloves. Pat, here's you some gloves.
Sure.
You've got the jars are out of the oven. Gail got them out of the oven for us. They're nice and warm. They're not hot, but they're warm. And that's exactly the way we want them. And look at the beauty of this okra. These pods are so bright green because Pat, he blanched them. When you blanch them, if you don't blanch them too long, it really does bring out that green color. Look how pretty that is. Okay, Gail, you're the pro at this. Show us how it's done. Show us your
Okay.
technique, if you will.
Well, I tell you what, how I like to do it is I like to put the big ones, the biggest ones in first, bottom down.
Yeah.
And I just kind of make a little row all the way
Right,
around.
right.
Try to start stacking. You can't go too far around because they start falling. You know, gravity does that to you. So you have to build from the center. So I like to take the smaller ones then, like this, and then put those point down.
All right.
And let's see. See, it already did that. Okay, so we got some really big ones here today, so we don't have to worry too much about it.
Well, if you need another hand,
Yeah.
Tendris is right there
Okay.
beside
Yeah,
you. She can help you if you tell her what to do.
Oh, one
Yeah,
a
grab me
small
some
one?
small
Okay.
ones. And one more small
This
one,
one?
and then a big
That's
one.
good.
That's
A
perfect.
big one?
Yeah.
Look, this one is big.
Oh, that's good. Like that. That's perfect. So
Okay.
sometimes you have to squeeze them down in there.
Good.
Okay. Now, how about some more big one? One more big one,
One more big
Tendris.
one?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe this one.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. And let's see, one more big one, large one.
Watch. That's
Perfect. Yes. Okay, so now we got a nice little even thing around the jar, so we can just start putting little bitty ones in there. If you can find me the smallest ones, that'll be great. Perfect. So we just put them in and kind of squeeze them down in between the little pieces here.
See
You'll
what I
find a
told
little
you?
hole.
She's good at this.
You're really good at it.
Yeah. Well,
Look how fast
practice
you're
makes perfect.
You can
It
do one
does.
for me then.
Yeah. When you get them in there too, you want to have them push down below
Push
that
down?
this because
Right.
they have
This
to
is
be
actually
covered
a
with
good
the
time to
vinegar.
go ahead and add a piece of lemon to
Yeah.
the
Okay.
side while you don't have them too packed, because you want to get that down in there if you can. See, sometimes it helps to take a knife because it slices it
that
down in
helps.
there. Yeah.
So I'm going to read a little portion out of the book. So y'all go to packing while I go to reading. In mainland North America, okra was one of the ultimate symbols of the establishment of the enslaved community as a culinary outpost of West Africa. Thomas Jefferson lauded it as one of Virginia's esteemed garden plants in the 1780s, and references to okra can be found in garden records and maps across the early Mid-Atlantic, Chesapeake, and Lower South. For enslaved cooks, okra was a common thread in their mixed African heritage. Okra was most often prepared in a peppery stew that was eaten with rice, millet, hominy, and corn mush. It was boiled with onions and tomatoes in a saucy preparation that was eaten in the same manner, or it was boiled on its own as a fresh vegetable. Okra with rice was called limpin' Susan, the cousin dish to cowpeas and rice, or hoppin' John.
Y'all did great on packing these.
Last two, Stan.
All right, put
Hey,
them
that ought
on
to
in.
finish this jar up.
Whoa, those look
Look at
fantastic.
there. Perfect.
Thank you.
Went
Y'all
right
made
in
quick
there.
work of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Pat, why don't you hand me that colander?
There you go.
And let's trade places with the vinegar, water, salt, and sugar. And so what we want to do now is, y'all can take these funnels.
Okay.
These are jar funnels. And why don't we put the jar funnels on, and Gail, why don't you put 2 tablespoons of our mixed spices into each jar.
Okay.
That's good.
Good.
Now you'll do the one
Okay.
adjacent to it, downstage towards me.
Doesn't
It
it?
looks good.
I can't wait to eat them.
Yeah, they're always better, you know, after about 3 or 4 weeks, and it lets those spices really completely infuse the okra, and it really tastes fantastic.
Well, the hardest part is waiting 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. You're right.
That's
You're
why you
right.
teach us about being patient.
Yeah,
That's
one
right.
more to go.
Yeah, you pray for patience, you get a lot of lessons.
All right, well, let's go ahead and ladle up the vinegar. Well, just
that
fill
right?
it up till it goes to the head, to where you want it related to the head space. There you go. Not,
Okay.
This one, then we can go ahead and cap this.
there we go. Perfect. Now, when we put these in the canner in a minute, after we put the lids and the bands on,
More.
yeah, I think you can put a whole ladle in.
That's good.
They'll cook a little bit, you know, because they'll be in boiling water for the better part of 15 minutes or so. All right, that's looking good. Now, Gail has put the lids on. Let me say a couple of things about the lids. We kind of wipe the lids a little bit to make sure they're good and clean. And then when we put the lids on and screw the band down, that outer part's called the band, you want to get it just finger tight. Not real tight, just finger tight. A little bit more. There we go. Because the air has to escape from the jar when it's boiling. And then after that happens and the lid seals, you can actually take the band off when it's sealed and wipe the band real good and also the jar real good, and then you can tighten it a little tighter. You just don't want a lot of residue on the threads because that's what makes a lid hard to come off, when that residue settles on the threads and the band. That is perfect. Okay, it's time for them to go in the canner. So Pat, we're gonna let you do this. Look at that. He's a pro. Says he's never done it before, but went right to the center of the canner. That's the way you're supposed to do it. You want to keep your jars evenly spaced so that you don't have a little tip over here. We've got this rack that you see. Look how he's spacing them evenly. So that's great. That's great, Pat. All right, we're down to the last 2. Okay.
Hey friends, how's it going?
Hey, Randall.
How are you? And how's the cannon going?
It's going great. We've got all of this done. They did a super job. We're about to lower it into the canner. This is the last step. There they go.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. How did everything go with food ministry today?
It was amazing. We served over 500 families today and 4,000 people this week alone.
Whoa, that's amazing. Well, this is going to be canning for about 15 minutes. It'll probably seal before then, but I kind of like with pints to go for 15 minutes. So, Randall, why don't you and I talk a little bit about food ministry?
Absolutely, I would love to.
All right. I think it's here on page 11, the whole letter, and it says, "Dear brothers and sisters at United Methodist Church." This is a short thank you note to show our appreciation for the work that you do for your community by providing food during these times. Please know that your love is not going unnoticed. Christ can be preached in many ways, and you have chosen to do so by way of selfless service. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. Know that your toil is not in vain in the Lord. And that's 1 Corinthians 15:58 that is cited here. And then it says, as you mentioned, with love and gratitude, Abe, and he also mentions the rest of his family, Yamina, Carol, Isabella, and Gabe. Wow, what a story. That was April the 28th, 2020, so that was...
At the very beginning.
At the beginning. Well, I remember the day that we had made all of that apple butter. We had a ton of apple butter, I think 150 jars. And Rosario had on a little smiley face mask that was really cute, and she was delivering that apple butter to the families with that mask on, and there was so much joy, it seemed like, around. Do you remember that day?
That was during our fall festival.
Oh,
and,
that's right. Yeah.
And the families came back the next week, and they were wanting more apple butter. They thought it was amazing. And they were just so happy to get another extension of love that was made especially for them. So they were just so touched.
You know, and Mark Hollybeck, we mentioned, he made our labels in the beginning, and that particular label that says honey apple butter, it also says on the side, you are loved, a gift of love to you. And you know, that's the message that we try to say every time we have families come through and receive a bag of groceries. We don't want them to forget that they are loved. All right, here it comes. Garlic pickled okra. Yeah. Now, what I like to say is that that Cannon and Pickling is really about sharing goodness, and it's about kindness connections. We've made a kindness connection today. Food ministry is all about kindness connections. But so if you were to share this jar of goodness with someone else, who would you share that with, Pat?
Stan, I'm going to share mine with Glenda Nix, who has been dealing with cancer and is in my Sunday school class.
Fantastic. Gail, how about you?
Well, I'd like to share mine with Margaret Bruyere. She's our most senior server, and she definitely packs a powerful service punch.
Okay, Tendris, who are you sharing with?
I would like mine to share with my sister. We lost our mom this past December.
Randall, how about you?
I'm going to share this with Virginia Server, who turned 100 years old this week.
Wow. All right. We've all got our okra. And I love who y'all are taking that okra to. It's so very meaningful. And there's plenty of okra for each of you to have a jar and enjoy what you have created. And I've got plenty of okra at my house. I want to thank you for tuning in and for subscribing to Picklin Parson, the YouTube channel. We'll keep these videos coming. But we want you to know how thankful we are for this wonderful cast and the service that they're about in food ministry and the many volunteers that they represent. But we hope that you've learned a little not only about what it means to pickle and can okra, but a little bit about those kindness connections and sharing goodness that we're all called to be about. So, signing off for now. All right, cheers.